Welcome friends to the next session of IBC Code 2016. Friends, knowledge is very important angle for one's development and we all understand. But कभी-कभी क्या होता है, knowledge के कारण लोगों में कुछ अहम पैदा हो जाता है. And here we need to understand friends that क्षमता और ज्ञान को हमेशा अपना गुरु बनाएं, गुरूर नहीं बनाएं. And yes, and when the going gets tough, tough gets going. We should always focus on the circle of possibility rather than the circle of difficulty. And we all know that where focus grows, energy flows. So if you look at the circle of possibility, if you focus on that, probably energy will flow in that particular direction. मौका है रोज या मुसीबत है, choice आपका है. चलिए, session we have understood the responsibility of the IRP and we have understood the process of CIRP till the first COC meeting. What will happen after that? Let us understand that. And the process does not end there after the first COC. And if you ask me in technical terms, the real world, the process starts after the first COC friends. So going ahead from the first COC and then moving forward, where we'll understand the role of the resolution professionals. So in the first meeting, the last lecture, and in the last lecture I had concluded with the first meeting of COC, where the IRP presents the claim, the list of the COC members, and then one very important angle to be presented in the first COC meeting. There are two important angles, remember, in the first COC meeting. The first is with respect to the approval of this IRP fees till the first COC meeting. And the second is the appointment of the IRP as a RP or replacing the IRP with a new RP. Remember. So that is taken care in the first, remember friends, very important agenda in the first COCs. So what will happen in the first COC that, the COC will meet, approve all the expenses till the first COC, whatever the expenses have been incurred by the IRP, which includes its fees, the traveling part, the expenses for taking over the assets, appointment of the security agency, and any other thing which has been incurred, appointment of a lawyer, and so on. Once that has been approved, then the CRP will think over whether this IRP needs to be continued based on whatever the experience, the commercial terms, and the other factors. The COC will decide, yes, they will continue with the same IRP or they'll appoint a new RP to carry on the process. So remember, till the first COC, the role of IRP is termed as IRP. And after that, it becomes the role of the RP, right? So therefore, we need to understand the role of the resolution professional in the CIRP period. So assuming that the IRP continues or assuming the new RP is appointed, what is going to happen? So as we know that first COC meeting is held within the 7 days of the constitution of the COC. And in this meeting, the COC with not less than 66% voting of financial creditors resolved to appoint IRP or replace him with a new IRP. So when IRP is appointed as RP, to COC to inform the IRP, CD and the A that yes, the IRP will continue as the RP, and this information is passed on to all the various stakeholders. Or if it is resolved to replace the IRP with the new RP, then it has to be filed, then the COC will file an application to the adjudicating authority for the proposed name and the approval from the adjudicating authority. And after the adjudicating authority, after confirming it from the board, will finally approve the appointment of the new RP, right? So that is the normal process. So that this process will take time, this process will really take time when the IRP is replaced by the RP. So till that particular appointment order comes from the AA, the old IRP will continue to work as the RP. Remember, it's not that there will be a vacuum here. The vacuum will not be created and the IRP will continue to work as the RP till the new order is received. And he will deemed to be the RP after 40th day, that is as per law. So after 40th day, that means because here the time limit is given is within 10 days, the board does not confirm regarding the appointment or not, they shall make the appointment. So by default 30 days is for the COC plus 10 days within the board approval, so that means the 40th day. So if that does not happen within the 40 days, then the old IRP will deem to be the new RP till the order is received. So this is the procedural aspect of the appointment of the RP, friends. Okay. So what will happen once the new RP comes into the picture? What is going to happen? Obviously, he will just carry on the proceedings from where the IRP has left, and he will take over the charge from the IRP. So IRP shall conduct the entire CRP and manage the operations of the CD during the CRP period, and he will exercise and the powers and perform duties as IRP. And we have already understood what are the powers of the IRP and the obligations of the IRP. Then, in case there is a new RP, then the old IRP will hand over all the documents related to the CD and all the meeting documents and all the claim form to the new RP. So this is the handover. This is a transition process from the old IRP to the new IRP. So once that is being done, then obviously the proceedings will go further, and then we have the committee meetings will be done regularly by the new RP. So as per section 24, the meeting of COC can be physical or by electronic means, and all meetings of the COC to be conducted by the RP. And the RP shall give notice of each meeting to members of COC and the authorized representative sectored in section 21. Okay, friends, so here comes another word, the authorized representative. Now, who is an authorized representative? That is appointed in section 21. So section 21 refers to the COC, constitution of the COC. And what can happen under the new change amendment which has been done is that in case there are more than X number of, let's say, financial creditor, then the financial creditor can come together and appoint a particular person who will represent the total financial creditors. So that person is known as the authorized representative. So he can be an IP, and the IP will be representing a class or group of financial creditors. When is it applicable? It may be applicable where, let's say, there are 10 financial creditors who are giving loan to a particular borrower. So 10 financial creditors, instead of attending each financial creditor attending the meeting, probably they can appoint one IP to attend the meeting on their behalf, or they can appoint any other bank to attend the meeting on their behalf. So they are termed as the authorized representative. Or the other example could be, let's say in the real estate company where there are so many home buyers who have purchased land, who have purchased plot, who have purchased flat. So instead of each particular home buyer coming and attending the meeting, which can create a chaos, so the law provides for appointment of authorized representative on behalf of all these home buyers, and they can appoint one IP who will present them and present their case in the COC. So that is the meaning of authorized representative. Then members of the suspended board of directors or the partners of the corporate person, and yes, the operational creditors if their due is 10%. Okay, so the notice of the meeting of the by the RP shall be sent to all of the people. The directors or the party representative of the operational creditors can attend the meeting, but they cannot vote. Remember, operational creditors will never have a voting power, and provided their absence shall not invalidate the meeting, because that will not be counted for the quorum also. So that is why this particular portion has been provided for. This particular law has been provided for. A creditor may appoint an IP other than RP to appoint represents as creditor in meeting of the COC. So as I said, the creditor can appoint any other member, any other person to attend the meeting of the COC on their behalf. And obviously, any fees which has to be paid to the IP who is attending the meeting will be borne by the particular creditor. Then each creditor will be assigned a voting share, which will be based on the financial debt. So it is basically on the percentage of the debt which is being accepted as a claim in the overall particular debt, which has been accepted as a claim by the RP or the IRP. Then the RP will determine the voting share to be assigned to each creditor in the manner specified by the board, which is nothing but in proportion wise. And then the meetings of the COC will be conducted in such a manner as may be specified, that is given in the rules, rules number 25, 26, 24. These are the things which will constitute all the regulations which will tell us the procedure to conduct all these COC meetings. Yes, we'll come to those, the ways to conduct that particular meeting after understanding this particular section, that is section 25. So duties of RP, which will be obviously same as the IRP, but maybe some difference might be there. So the first duty is to preserve and protect assets of the CD, which is already there, and including the continued business operation of the CD, and for that purpose, take immediate custody and control of the all assets, represent and act on behalf of the CD with the third parties exercise rights for the benefit of the CD, judicial, quasi-judicial or arbitration proceedings. Then raise interim finance with the approval of the CS. This is a very important angle because there are cases where the company might be needing additional funds for running the business, paying off the liabilities, the existing liabilities, so that the business can be continued. For that, it may need funds, so they can approach the COC members, the bankers, the existing one, or they can approach the outside market also, outside parties for raising the funds, and then the approval of the COC will be required. Then we need to update all the claims which will be received from time to time. Conduct and convene meetings of the COC as and when required. Prepare information memorandum. We'll have a separate discussion on this word information memorandum. This is the resolution plan will be prepared. Invite all the prospective lenders, investors, and any other person to put forward their resolution plan. Present all the resolution plan in the committee meeting. File an application of ordinance of transaction in accordance with Chapter 2. This is again a very important angle which we'll cover later on once we study the liquidation. Actions may be specified by the board, friends. So it is more or less the administrative part, that is the normal carrying out the process of the CD. The difference between the functions of IRP and IRP is purely in terms of interim finance. That's why I focused on this word interim finance, which was not there under the IRP period. That is the first 30 days. But during this particular period, where the IRP will analyze the requirement of the funds, and then that requirement can be understood, and then only they can raise the funds. Then the rights of the AR, we have understood the word authorized representative, who is basically appointed on behalf of the finance creator. So he has the right to participate and vote on behalf of the COC, which is representing. Then circulate the minutes to the financial creator he represents. He will never act against the interests of the FC because he's a representative of those FCs. And if he represents several FCs, then he will vote to the extent of his voting share of each of the FC. That means, let's say that there are 10 FCs, then his voting will be counted with respect to each of the FC's voting share, and then we'll club together all the voting share, and then the final voting percentage of the authorized representative can be calculated. Right? So this is what the rights of the authorized representative has been specified. That has been introduced in 2018. In the initial law, it was not there, but because when later on a lot of cases came in, government thought, yes, let us introduce the concept of AR, and that is why this section was introduced in 2018. Okay, so section 26 is a very important section where it calls for the duty is cast upon the duty to on the RP to present something to the adjudicating authority, present an application for avoidance of transaction. Then avoidance of transactions are referred to is in section 45. Then if the liquidator or the RP upon examination of the transaction finds that there are certain transactions which are undervalued with an objective to defraud the traders, then we can file an application under those sections, and the undervalued transactions are defined, that what are undervalued transactions. So again, as I said, we'll discuss this matter when we study the liquidation matter. So for the current context, I'm ignoring them. I'm purely focusing on the process part, right? That will be the miscellaneous provisions, where I'll cover all the miscellaneous provisions separately, because this forms part both of the CRP process and the liquidation process. So section 27, now somebody may raise a question, IRP has been replaced by the RP. Can RP be replaced? Yes, the answer is yes. RP is COC. So during the proceedings of the CRP, if anytime COC thinks that the RP is not able to perform the operations as desired, so they can replace the RP, obviously by calling a meeting where voting or not less than 66% will be required to replace the RP with another RP. Propose the new name to the adjudicating authority, and obviously the process will remain same, where the adjudicating authority will get it confirmed from the board, friends. Yes, very important section, friends. This section 28, which again puts the RP under pressure, where he cannot act everything, he cannot do take certain actions on his own, and probably for that he has to approach the COC and take the permission from them. So it talks about there are certain transactions which will require approval of COC, and the voting has to be done on all those transactions as per regulation 25 and 26. So what are those transactions? And they're very specific transactions where if the RP is needed in excess of the amount decided by the COC, then he has to take the approval of the COC. Create any security interest over CD assets. Probably the assets are secured with all the financial traders. So if any further security interest has to be created, probably for that again we need to approve the COC. If we are changing the capital structure of the company, the reduction of the share capital, increasing of the share capital, then we'll require permission of the COC, record any change in the ownership interest of the COC, give instructions to the financial institution, that is bank, maintaining accounts of the CD for debit transactions on such account in excess of amount decided by COC, undertake any related party transaction, let's say payment of salary, payment of rent for warehouse, or any other case, then they require an approval from the COC. If you are changing the MOA, article of association of the COC, then the permission would be required. We are for delegating our authority to third person, then we are requiring a permission. Making change in management of the CD or its subsidiary, dispose or permit disposal of shares of any shareholder of the COC or their nominees to third parties, transfer rights or financial operational debts under material contracts otherwise than in ordinary course. See, in a normal business, it will all be required, but then this will be different. Changes in appointment or terms of contract of such personnel specified by the COC. So there are key management personnel, the CEO, the CFO, the marketing head, then the COC approval will be required. And making changes in appointment of the terms of contract for statutory auditors, internal auditors of the CD, and so approval of the CSO is required. Now, obviously, when the approval comes in, then the voting of not less than 66% would be accepted. So anything above 66% would be in the favor of that particular approval. And if any action is taken by the RP without approval of the same, such action will be void, and then the COC has the right to report such actions of the RP to the board. Friends. As I said that we have to follow certain rules for the meeting part. So friends, voting has to be done at the COC meeting by all the members. And after the voting is done, the RP will declare the results, and he will also announce who has voted in favor and who has voted against the particular resolution. It may happen that all of the people may not attend the COC meeting. All the COC members may not be present. So that means who are not voting, they can go for e-voting, and that e-voting will be opened after the minutes have been circulated. And circulation of the meeting and minutes will be done within 48 hours. So the e-voting will open after 48 hours, and that will open within 24 hours by the end of the 48 hours, and that can remain open for a certain period of time, where the maximum time limit has not been fixed. So all the e-voting rules will be as per Rule 26. We says that the voting guidance has to be given to all the COC members that how to vote, and for that voting will be done through e-voting, and an agency can be appointed where the infrastructure, the technology will be provided by that e-voting agency, and all communication has to be done by the COC, by the RP to the COC, that how voting has to be done. So that is defined under Rule 26. Procedural aspect, where voting procedure has been given, no such percentage, because that is already covered section departments. Yes, very important angle, other than what we are performing. This is a very important function we have to do. Point within 7 days appointment, registered values to determine the fair liquidity debtor as per Regulation 35. So that is a major job to be done by the RP within 7 days of appointment. And as I said, if the RP is not appointed by the AA, then the IRP will appoint those valuers within the 7 days. The valuers have to give a to report, and they have to mention the fair value and the liquidation value, and in terms and conditions of the appointment of the valuer. That means he should have the IRP, related party of the CD, order of the CD in last file, partner or director of the IPE, information professional, insolvency professional entity, right? So that's a separate company which can be created to the IP friends. So with these are the restrictive conditions for appointment of the registered valuer. In case of assignment or transfer of debt, both the parties shall provide RP the terms of transfer and identity of the assignee. So that is the where the debt due to creditors has been given. So that particular been done by the creditor, that information has to be the RP. RP shall notify each party of any such resultant within 2 days of such change. Let's say if there's a bank who will assign their due to any other third party, that means they have sold their debt to a third party. So that bank will inform them, and then the third party will be the part of the COC. If there are assets to be sold within which is outside the ordinary, then the RP may sell those unencumbered asset of the CD as per Regulation 29. If you think that it is needed for better relation of the value, provided that the book value of the assets sold during CRP in 10% of the total claims admitted by the IRP. So that is a condition that I cannot sell assets worth more than the 10% of the total claims. Sale of asset to be made with the approval of COC. Bona fide purchaser will have free and marketable title, notwithstanding any terms in the primary document. So we'll get a clean title. And then in case no such support required for certain execution of the transaction, then he can approach the local administration for getting perform his duties and regulations. So in general, this is again very critical to carry process. I think the role does not end here. As I said, the main role comes in the resolution plan is invited, and resolution plan will be invited, how it will be received, how it will be accepted, how it will be and get it approved from the A. That is the major role, and that is the IBC code, friends. So this is purely what a procedural part, right? Just to carry out the operations. This major part where we expect that the RP should come out with a resolution. That is our next point of discussion, and when we do that, we'll discuss it in our. I think we have covered the role of the IRP, role of RP, and the appointment of the RP, and before that, filing of cases under the insolvency. So we started with filing of cases. Once the case is admitted, appointment of IRP, the role of the IRP, and then the RP or a new RP is appointed, the RP. So till now, what we are focused on procedural part. So next time meet, have a nice time, and be safe, be healthy, your own friend.